Hey, and
Hi.
I'm Alec, and this is Katya, and today we're just gonna introduce ourselves in English. So, um, I'm from the UK. I'm 30 years old. I've been in Russia for about 4 years now. I first came over to Russia as a bit of a different life adventure, because obviously it was somewhere that no one had really gone before, from my friends or my family. So it was very different. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, wanted to get into teaching or working with kids like that. So instead of going to China or the Middle East, which most of my friends decided to do, that also wanted to teach abroad, I chose Russia. Yeah, so we wanted to start a YouTube channel, really about kind of foreigners' life in Russia, British citizens' life in Russia, and also try and teach some English along the way to some of the Russian viewers for any tips or tricks or anything that I've learned being a teacher over here. So I'm obviously originally from London. I went to university in Bath. Well, I kind of grew up in Surrey, actually, just outside London. Katya.
Yeah, so I'm from a city called Nizhny Novgorod. It's not really far away from Moscow. And then I've
It
decided
is
to move.
quite far in English terms.
Yeah, but in Russia it's really like the biggest
Because
city
anywhere you have
nearest
to
to
get
Moscow.
a sleeper train in the UK is really far away. Have you ever had a sleeping train to Nizhny?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I
there is
mean,
also a fast train,
yeah, for only 4 hours,
or
really
4
quick.
hours.
Just
But
to
still,
go there every week.
it's probably the same distance from London to Edinburgh.
Okay, so Alec, maybe you can tell us more about your experience in Russia. What did you feel when you moved? How was it for you? What did your family say to you?
Oh, right.
Yeah, because I think it was quite
Yeah.
difficult for you and for them.
So obviously, it's quite a scary experience moving to any country, let alone a country where you don't know anyone there. You don't know any of the language. It's a pretty difficult, complex visa system to get over from the UK. So if anything goes wrong, no one can come and help you quickly. So it was a pretty big life decision, which I'm obviously glad I made because it's great.
Yeah. Sorry, and obviously because you don't have any visas, so you never really done it before. So for you, it was really new experience.
I mean, coming from England, most of the places in fact, every single place I'd ever gone before hadn't ever needed a visa. You don't need a visa to go to Europe, any of the European countries. And yeah, most places Brits travel to, they don't need a visa. So for me, at age 25 or 26, when I first came over to Russia, it was the first visa experience I'd ever had. And yeah, it was stressful, obviously. It's just like,
That's what we deal with it every single year or every single time when we want to go somewhere to Europe or to England or America. So now you know what it's like.
Yeah, so the weather. Now, obviously coming from England, it is cold there and it does rain a lot. And in Russia, I would say it is cold. It does get colder. But the main issue is just the length of winter. It's just so relentless. It feels like it goes on for like 8-9 months of it being cold and grey and dark. Spring's pretty much winter here as well, and autumn's also pretty much winter. In the summer for 2 or 3 months it can be boiling and it is amazing, but it's just so long and dark in the rest of the year. But obviously I was prepared for that because no one goes to Moscow thinking it's going to be sunny and fun, right?
No, but it is fun.
It's going to be sunny and everyone's going to be running around, on the streets like it is in Barcelona or anything. No one expects that. I mean, I knew it was going to be cold, obviously. I also thought, the first time I came to Russia, I came to the airport and I got dropped off at my flat. I looked around, there's just so many tower blocks everywhere. One of the main parts of this YouTube video and these series of YouTube videos is to show a lot of the famous and interesting parts of Moscow, and maybe some areas outside Moscow, like Katia City and Nizhny. Yeah, so I was explaining this to Katia, really. And I mean, I feel this is the same for any of the citizens from the UK, is I would never refer to myself at home as British. Like maybe when I'm filling out a form, but if anyone was to ask me, I'd always say I was English. I'm sure the Scots always say they're Scottish. And probably the Welsh, although I'm not actually sure. So being in Russia, and usually being abroad, it's more normal to refer to yourself as British, because they refer to you all as British. So that was a pretty interesting point. I mean, it can be anywhere, but it's just living in a country now that's made me reflect on that a little bit. Look, Russians have a reputation for being colder and not smiling, and actually, for the most part, that is true. They are pretty cold, right? Once you get to know them, fine, they're great, but on the surface, they're definitely less friendly looking. They definitely smile less. I mean, you really notice when you walk into shops in the UK. And like, we've got a reputation for being more miserable than America, don't get me wrong, but you know, you walk into the UK, people are, you know, kind of smiling everywhere and having a bit of a laugh, even if they feel pretty terrible inside. You know, they kind of have a force to put on this mask. But in Russia, they don't really do that. Most people are just pretty miserable looking, right? I mean, I'm thinking of one girl in particular next to the supermarket that I walk in every day. I must walk in there every day and smile at her. And honestly, she never smiles back. No matter what I'm buying, I must look her in the eyes and smile, and she just, it's like someone's told her never to smile. Again, maybe it's the same in the UK, but I don't really remember it. But it's like the customer service here. You walk in, sometimes I walk into shops and they turn around and it's like I'm bothering them, right? It's just like, hey, I'm here for a haircut. And they're like, oh, yeah, I guess we have time, right? And you're like, oh, thanks. I mean, it's not everyone, it's not all this. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Russia, and it's not perfect by any means, but you know, there's a lot of great parts and elements to Russian people, Russian society, Russian culture that hopefully we're going to be able to explore more in detail throughout these videos. And yeah, I mean, look, there's loads of parts about Britain. There's loads of parts about the UK, about England that I love and I miss, but you know, they have some real problems. They're just much better at, I think, hiding them under the surface, you know, as opposed to Russia. No, I think when people think about the UK, I think lots of people, foreigners, obviously think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Or at least it's rich and it's happy and everyone's having a laugh there. And there is obviously some truth in that, but it has some serious issues. And okay, so another thing, Moscow is a much more livable city. It's much more affordable, even for, like, I would say, for middle class and working class people. And you know, for instance, I would say that the average salary in Moscow is probably like 800, maybe like £1,000 a month. Okay, like 100,000 rubles, 120,000 rubles, but also goes much lower. It can be like 50, 60,000 rubles, like £400-500. And I would also say, you know, you can definitely live off that. You know, not well, obviously, but the public transport for a month, unlimited travel, is like £25. Okay, if you compare that to the tube, which is just absolutely insane, and it is the best metro in the whole world. It's so reliable, it's so clean, it's so safe, and you know, it's like £25 a month, unlimited travel, which it just makes living here, you know, so much more affordable. And obviously rent varies depending on what you get, but you know, to even find a flat, it's like 15 minutes from on the metro, 15 minutes on the metro from the city centre. So those are just kind of some of the things that spring to mind initially. Hey guys, we just want to say goodbye. This is our first video, and we're probably going to do the next video on somewhere more touristy like the Red Square or Park Kotori, Gorky Park. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully you found it a little bit interesting. We're going to explain some more stuff in the next few videos.